Hi boys and girls, today I'm going to show you a video about question words. This video is going to help us learn how to ask questions. Has anyone ever noticed that sometimes when I tell you that you can ask a question, I have to remind you that you're telling me a story? This happens because we don't yet know in our brains exactly what questions are. This video is going to help us learn our question words. What will this video help us learn? That's right, our question words. That's right, question words. Question words are words that questions start with. If I do not start something off with a question word, then it's not going to be a question. This video will help us understand this a little bit better. So as we watch this video, I want you to stand up because you're going to be able to answer some questions. I want you to pay attention. If you hear these words, who, what, where, when, how, let me say them again. Who, what, where, when, how, and why. If you hear those words, I want you to point at it. Remember that if the video asks you a question, you answer it, and answer it in a complete sentence. Make sure you listen for those asking words. Who, what, where, when, how, and why. I want you to be ready. Let's watch that video.
Statements and questions are two different things. Statements always tell, questions ask something. You're not just telling a story, kids. You're expressing what the thing that you're wondering is. Questions end with a question mark too. You have to wait for someone to answer you.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Who, what, where, when, how, and why. Questions start with these. Step right up and answer all my questions if you please. Who is the last person you talked to? Who is your favorite teacher? Who makes you laugh the most? Who is your favorite book character? What is your favorite color? What TV show do you like the most? What is your favorite food? What do you want to be when you grow up? Where do you go to school? Where do you live? Where do you wish you could go on a vacation? Where do you like to go for fun? Who, what, where, when, how, and why. Questions start with these. Step right up and answer all my questions go to bed? When were you the most scared you've ever been? When were you the most excited you've ever been? When is your birthday? How old are you? How are you feeling right now? How many brothers and sisters do you have? How would you describe your house? Why should you walk in school? Why should you be friendly to people? Why should you always tell the truth? Why is school really fun? Who, what, where, when, how, and why?
Now, boys and girls, I'm going to model how I might ask a question by reading a book. Charlie needs a cloak. Charlie needs a cloak. Story and pictures by Tommy DePaula. Charlie was a shepherd. He had a cozy house, a big hat, a crook, and a flock of fat sheep. But everyone said, let's pause for a minute right there. What is a crook? Let's see. That's Charlie. He's a shepherd. A shepherd takes care of sheep. Here's his cozy house. Here's his big hat. Here's his flock of fat sheep. I know. This is a crook. It's not the word that we usually think of when we describe a crook, but that's a crook, okay? All right, let's read it once again. Charlie was a shepherd. He had a cozy house, a big hat, a crook, and a flock of fat sheep. But everyone said, Charlie needs a cloak. Why are they saying that? Here are the words we're going to use when we make a question. We're going to use the words who, what, where, when, how, and why. The first question I asked was, why does everybody say Charlie needs a new cloak? Cloak is an old-fashioned word for a jacket, coat, but from the olden days. All right, let's take a closer look at Charlie in the picture and see if we can think of why they're saying he needs a new cloak. Here's Charlie. What do you think of the cloak that he's wearing now? Well, let's continue with the story. Poor Charlie. He really needed a new cloak. Uh-oh. What is that sheep doing? Take a close look. Okay, I just asked another question. I asked, what is that sheep doing? Looks like he's nibbling on Charlie's cloak. Uh-oh. So in the spring, Charlie sheared his sheep. Let's take a close look. Here he is shearing his sheep. What is shearing? You can tell from the picture. That's another question word. What? Looks like they're getting a haircut. Yes, that's what shearing is. Look at that one sheep. I think he's hiding in the bush. So in the spring, Charlie sheared his sheep. He washed the wool. And carded the wool to straighten it out. What does carded mean? What is another question word? Let's take a closer look. Here the wool is all bunched up and curly. Charlie has taken that wool and put it between two paddles, and he's using those paddles to stretch that wool, getting all those curls out. And once that wool has been stretched, he hangs it over this pole to dry. So Charlie washed the wool and then carded the wool to straighten it out. Why is Charlie doing all of these things with wool? That's another one of our question words. Why? Then Charlie spun the wool into yarn. Charlie wanted a red cloak, so he picked some pokeweed berries during the late summer and boiled them over a fire. Here he is picking some berries. And here's some logs that maybe he's going to make his fire. Here he's made his fire and he's boiling the berries. What is that silly sheep doing? He's blocking the wool. Why did we boil these berries? Here's the wool, it's white. He boiled the berries, and now we have some reddish pinkish wool. How did this happen? How did the wool get pink or red? Can you tell me? Then Charlie dyed the yarn red in the berry juice. Oh, that's how. He put the yarn in the berry juice and made the yarn turn red from the berry juice. That's called dyeing. First it's white, he put it in the berry juice, and then it turned red. Let's remind ourselves of the question words. Who, what, where, when, how, and why. Who is Charlie? Let's think for a minute. If you thought of Charlie as a shepherd, you are correct. What is Charlie doing? If you said he's making a cloak, you are correct. Where is Charlie? Think about it. If you said he's at his farm, you are correct. When does this story take place? If you said a long time ago or in the olden days, you are correct. He carded the wool. We don't really do that anymore, do we? Now they send wool off to a factory to be made into fabric or a cloak. But we have some other pages coming up that are going to tell us that this story takes place a long time ago. How is Charlie making his cloak? Well, we're only halfway through the story, but we're going to find out. But those are all good questions to think about. And we've already asked several why questions. So, let's keep reading. After the yarn was dry, Charlie put the strands on the loom. Oh my, what is a loom? Oh, that's a loom. He's putting the yarn on this machine, which is called the loom. Every fall evening, he wove the yarn into cloth. You know, when we asked, when is this story taking place? This is just like during the Pilgrim days. See, he's weaving this yarn and it's making cloth. Why do we need cloth? What does Charlie want? What does he need? He needs a new cloak. Charlie put the cloth on the table and cut it into pieces. That silly sheep on the table too. He pinned the pieces together. Why do you think he pinned the pieces together? Let's take a look at the pictures. If you're thinking he pinned them together to make a new cloak, let's see what the next page has. And sewed them. All right, once again, he pinned the pieces together and sewed them. And then when winter came, Charlie had a beautiful new red cloak. Now, boys and girls, we know how Charlie made his new cloak. Now let's see if we can figure out some of the answers to some of the questions that we asked. We talked about who Charlie is, the shepherd. What is the story about? He needs a new cloak. So the story is about him needing that cloak and how he made that cloak. Why did he need a new cloak? Well, in the very beginning, we saw that sheep nibbling on his jacket. Maybe his jacket got nibbled and had some holes. Maybe it was old. And just like you, people grow. Maybe the cloak didn't fit him that well anymore. What is he going to do? Oh, he did so many things. He sheared his sheep, he washed the wool, he carded the wool, he stitched it all together, he made the fabric. Those are all whats. What did he do? Where did this take place? Well, we're going to probably think it took place right at his farm. And when did this take place? And we said you used carding, and he boiled the wool over a fire, and he used a loom, probably like way back in the olden days, maybe even when there were pilgrims, but certainly not modern times. All right, so during this whole lesson, I have been wearing this fancy hat. Can you think of a question? Not a story, but it needs to be a question about this hat. I want you to write a question down, and when we come to our next class meeting, you can read me your question, or you can have Mom take a picture of your question and send it to me in an email. Okay, remember, when we ask for a question, we don't want to hear a story. We want to hear a question that is going to give us more information. Bye-bye for now.